Hey guys, welcome back to the Always in Season podcast, episode number 22. When we are a little more than 24 hours away from football, we are recording this on the Wednesday before Thursday Night Football. But before that, like always, we'll get into our weekly news.
Yeah, for the NFL season, we will be having our episodes drop on Wednesdays at 5 instead of Saturdays, just so we can do a full preview of the next week's games as well as a breakdown of the previous week's games. Obviously, this week, with it just being week one, and we've already gone through all the preseason games, this is just going to be a preview for week one, nothing to break down. But yeah, weekly news first. So the Ravens signed Tyler Huntley as their backup quarterback once again.
Mm-hmm.
He was a Pro Bowler for them at one point when Lamar was down, and a lot of people kind of think he's like a mini
He's
Lamar in a
very
way.
plays very much like Lamar.
So I think that's a good signing. It's always good to have a familiar guy
Yeah,
in the quarterback
right.
room. So Saints free agent, wide receiver, whatever you want to call him, Michael Thomas is suspended week one for violation of NFL rules. It's man, it Michael Thomas is like demise is so disappointing.
Yeah, because it's like he was great when he's healthy, but it seems like the past 5 years, there's always some kind of injury that pops up, and he's never himself. He hasn't been himself in so long. So yeah,
And this isn't even an injury. This is just
yeah,
him being
right.
dumb.
Yeah,
So
so,
yeah, it's tough. But who knows what he looks like anymore?
right.
Wide receiver Hollywood Brown is out for week one for the Chiefs against the Ravens. So a little bit of a blow to them. They do have a good amount of weapons, but it's not great to have one of your better wide receivers out.
Yeah, Mahomes has his safety blanket and Kelsey, but like you said, they don't really have too many options. A lot of them are younger, like Xavier Worthy. He's very talented, but again, he's young, and who knows how long it's going to take for him and Mahomes to get connected. So losing a guy like Hollywood Brown is pretty big, especially against the Ravens.
Yeah, it really will be Xavier Worthy's time to step up, and maybe Juju Smith-Schuster gets a shot with Brown being out. So we have a good amount of signings for this week's weekly news, starting with Chargers signing Cameron Dicker, the kicker, to a 4-year, $22.004 million deal, $12.5 million guaranteed. He is now a top five highest paid kicker in the league. He is making more than Graham Gano. He's also making more than Evan McPherson. So he is one of the better kickers in the league.
Yeah, better and it's. I think we talked about this. Like it's so underrated how important a consistent kicker is, and if you can find one, like they did, keep him around for a while. So that's not going to be an issue going forward in this new Jim Harbaugh era. So.
Yeah, so some of the bigger news this week wasn't really football related. 49ers first round pick wide receiver Ricky Pearsall, he was shot. We don't know all the details, and we're not really going to go through everything about the accident, but he was shot in the chest. According to his mom, the bullet exited out of his back. He is stable. He has been released from the hospital, as far as I have read. Thank goodness it wasn't something more serious, because getting shot like that can kill you clearly, So, but hopefully he can come back this season. But most importantly, just heal up.
Yeah. Yeah, there was reports. I don't know how true these rumors are that he was spotted in the facility. I know he like again how he was able to get shot through the chest, and nothing serious happened. With obviously by the grace of God he was saved. So thankfully nothing too bad happened, and I do believe that they have the person that shot him in custody. So, like you said, his health is top priority, and hopefully he can be back at some point this year.
Chiefs running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire is out for at least the first four games. He's on the non-football illness list. We're not sure all the details about why he is out, but he will be out for the first 4 weeks. Not again, tough blow for them. They do have Pacheco in the backfield as well as some others, but
still not. Yeah, to start on the NFI list is not great because it's just especially early in the season when you're trying to make a statement and everything. But yeah, it's not great for them. Like you said, they have Pacheco, but still.
Seahawks signed former Vikings quarterback Jaron Hall to the practice squad. A lot of people thought Jaron Hall was going to make the Vikings roster, at least their practice squad, considering they're unknown at quarterback, as well as J.J. McCarthy being injured. But he still did not make it, so I'm glad to see him get picked up for the Seahawks. And I think that's a good small pickup for them.
Yeah, Geno Smith is there, and a solid backup for them. And not too much expectations there, but still a good backup for them. Yeah, like you said, I thought he was going to make the Vikings roster, and obviously he didn't. So.
Yeah, right now, obviously, it's a third stringer since he's on the practice squad, but we'll see what
Mm-hmm.
happens throughout the season. New deal for 49ers left tackle Trent Williams. It includes $48 million fully guaranteed at signing. He gets a $25.690 million signing bonus. It moves into $103 million in guarantees since joining the Niners in 2021, and he is on track to earn over $250 million in his career. Massive signing, and now Trent Williams is happy and gonna play.
Yeah, I think the Niners have made all their players happy. It's until next summer when Brock Purdy's going to want some money. So I guess Trent Williams' holdout worked, and I believe he got paid what he deserved. I believe he's the best left tackle in football. But again, holding out, especially when you didn't really need to hold out, it's whatever. But never, nonetheless, he got paid. They paid Ayuk, so their drama is behind them, and now they can focus on hopefully winning a Super Bowl with arguably the most talented roster in football.
I think the guy who's the happiest about all this is Kyle Shanahan. You know,
Yeah,
he just wants his players, and he also just wants no drama.
yeah,
So he got his wish. Players got their money, and John Lynch gets to keep his stack roster for
yeah,
this season. Cameron Hayward gets 3 years and $45 million with $16 million fully guaranteed this season with the Steelers. He is one of the best. He
yeah.
really is, and he has been consistent throughout his entire career. So I think this is a good deal. Obviously, it's great for the Steelers to keep that defense together.
And even though he's a little bit older, he still has shown that he's has no signs of slowing down. So with that in mind, they signed him to an extension, and one of their key pieces, along with J.J. Watt or T.J. Watt, sorry for the Steelers.
Yeah. The Jets and quarterback Michael Carter II agreed to terms on a 3-year, $30.75 million extension. It can be worth up to $33 million, with slightly over $19 million in total guarantee. He's not the highest paid slot corner, whatever that does for you. But I mean, this one kind of came out of nowhere. Like a lot of the deals from this offseason have been so heavily talked about happening, and now
Yeah.
they're official. This one was not really talked about. It just was like, oh, you got signed. Congrats. So good for Michael Carter.
Yeah, then the Jets, we talked about how good that defense is, and it's just a matter of more so like what is their offense going to look like this year. But I guess highest paid slot corner that doesn't say too much other than he's a top paid corner. But good for him, and he'll be alongside with Sauce, and hopefully that defense will still be good.
Yeah. So the Packers and Eagles are playing this Friday in Brazil. They took off this morning very, very early.
Mm-hmm.
It's about a 10.5 hour flight, I know, for the Packers. I think the Eagles, it's around the same. But Eagles linebacker Devin White has an ankle injury and has officially been ruled out for Friday's night season opener against the Packers. Both teams overall are looking pretty healthy. If you look at the injury report, obviously that's what you want to see, especially coming out of just preseason and training camp. The Packers' only question mark right now that looks like possibly missing the game would be their rookie running back Marshawn Lloyd. They are hopeful, and he is going to he did make the flight. But so they're going to give him up to what looks like game time before they rule him one way or the other. But again, both sides are looking healthy, but Devin White is going to miss that week 1 game.
Yeah, I know there was Romeo Dobbs. He had a little bit of a hand injury, but he did participate in practice yesterday. He said he's where he wants to be.
A.J. Brown as well
Yeah,
for the Eagles.
and then but like Marshawn Lloyd, he has that hamstring, so I'm sure they'll be cautious with him. But they have Josh Jacobs. So I mean, again, he's a rookie. He's a very promising rookie, but I don't think they'll miss him too much if they sit him week 1.
Yeah, it's more about getting those reps. They also have Wilson there, so they have some good running backs. And yeah, I mean, soft tissue. You don't wanna risk anything week 1. Star wide receiver Jamar Chase, he is also one of these guys out there really wanting a contract, and he is trending towards not playing in the Bengals season opener if the deal is not reached soon, according to ESPN. That'd be a tough blow for the Bengals. However, they are playing the Patriots, which is not one of their tougher games on the season. They do have a good defense over there, the New England does, but the Bengals should be able to pull out that win still with their talent around, their whole roster and just the youth. I mean, the Patriots are not starting Drake May. They're going to be starting Brissett, so that helps them in that sense. But this still looks like a Bengals win, on paper, whether Chase is playing or not. But when you're getting Joe Burrow back. I mean, these Bengals fans, they haven't gotten to see Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase for a while now, and they want to just see that. And So
Yeah.
it's frustrating for them, I'm sure. It's frustrating for the organization. But either hopefully they can get a deal done, or even if they don't, Jamar will come to his senses and play.
Yeah, I know last week we talked about how Zach Taylor was like, oh, yeah, he's going to practice and be out there, and then he wasn't. So there's obviously some miscommunication there. Jamar Chase, I guess he's obviously one of the top guys in the league, and Joe Burrow is one of his top targets. So him not playing, like you said, even though it's the Patriots, it could still impact them. I don't think this is like meaning that they're going to lose. I still think they beat the Patriots, but hopefully sooner rather than later, they can figure out something with him.
For sure. And lastly, the Broncos and star cornerback Patrick Surtain II have agreed to terms. It's a massive 4-year extension worth up to $96 million, $24 million per year. He is 24 years old and he is getting $77.5 million guaranteed. He is now the highest paid defensive back in the NFL history. Before that, it was Jair Alexander for the Green Bay Packers. So congrats to Surtain. He is
Mm-hmm.
one of the best in the league. He deserves the money. Again, this deal wasn't talked about as much this offseason. And people knew that he deserved the money, and I'm sure he clearly wanted it, but
Yeah.
it wasn't like he was holding out, or was this all this drama and storyline, or is it happening or not? I think it was probably one of those things where inside the building they both knew it was going to get done, so there wasn't need
Yeah.
for the noise outside.
Yeah, I think it's like not to point fingers or whatever, but like with Ayuk, it's like he even admitted
Mm-hmm.
he drugged that saga on way longer than it needed to be, and then you have extensions like Certain and then like Love. It's like there's not much drama because it's like internally it's going to happen, but like I would say there was a little bit with Love, but not really. But now with Certain, you really didn't hear anything, and he's arguably the top corner in the league, and got paid like he should have.
Yeah, and the Broncos, they have some bright spots throughout their roster, and Patrick Surtain may be the brightest
Yeah.
spot on their roster, definitely on the defensive side of the ball. So that's it for weekly news. Next up, we are going to break down Week 1 games, and it will start with
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow's Thursday night season kickoff Chiefs Ravens game. So we're excited to talk
Yeah.
about them. We'll do full breakdown. So that'll be up next. All right, guys, week 1 is officially here. It is Wednesday, the day before the NFL season kicks off, and we are so excited for it. That first game is going to be the Ravens versus the Chiefs. AFC Championship rematch. The Chiefs have won 4 of the last 5 matchups, actually. Hollywood Brown is out, like we said. It's Derrick Henry's Ravens debut. Lamar Jackson is coming off of an MVP. Patrick Mahomes is coming off of a Super Bowl. Two of the best coaches in the league, and John Harbaugh and Andy Reid. I mean, you really can't get much better than this.
Yeah.
This game has the playoff implications. It has everything you want. So that is our first game. Who do you have winning this game?
I do think the Chiefs still win this. I think they win 27-20. I think they're still coming off that Super Bowl high. They're not going to miss a step. Yeah, I think 27-20. I have them winning. I think it'll be a close game. If the Ravens win, I don't think anybody will be super shocked. But yeah, I still think the Chiefs have that edge over the Ravens. And um, yeah, I still believe both teams will do well. And if these guys meet again in the AFC Championship, I won't be surprised.
I think this is gonna be like one of those, like 3 4 point game difference. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is gonna be a close game, going back and forth. I went back and forth on this game of who I thought was gonna win, and I actually have the Ravens edging them out.
Okay.
I think this is the time that they're like, okay, we're beating them. But again, it's not the playoffs, so they're gonna feel good about this. But until it happens in the playoffs, it doesn't mean
Mm-hmm.
that much. But that's who I have. Next up, Packers Eagles in Brazil. It's the first Brazil game that we're gonna get to see for the NFL, which is really exciting. Stadium is sold out. It's gonna be packed there. But yeah, Packers edged the Eagles 3-2 in the last 5 matchup. Jordan Love 2022 step up game rematch kind of ish for him.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Rodgers had exited. He went in there, threw a touchdown right away,
Mm-hmm.
almost had a comeback. But that's a game that the Packers really felt like, okay, we can move on to him. It's the Packers' new defensive scheme versus the Eagles' stacked offense, but there's no Jason Kelsey,
Yep.
which could be a big blow for them. But Jordan Love and the young wide receivers versus the Eagles' young secondary and Slay. Running back new team debut for Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley. So, I mean, there is so much going into this game. And what you get with a lot of these week 1 matchups, and Nick Sirianni, Eagles head coach, talked about this, is against the Packers, they have a new defensive coordinator. We don't know what
Yeah.
we're getting from this defense. He doesn't know. So they're having to dig a lot of film up where for the Packers going against the Eagles defense, they can kind of have more
Yeah.
film from last year. So there's some question marks that these teams are going to have to face. But what will the Eagles' offense look like with Saquon Barkley at running back? I mean, he's going to be Jalen Hurts' best friend, you know?
Yeah.
So we have a lot of exciting things for this game. Who do you
Mhm.
have winning?
I have the Packers edging out the Eagles 24-21. I think that the Eagles, that young secondary, I think with you saw like all the weapons, even though they're young, that the Green Bay has, I think after a while throughout the game, they're gonna figure them out and they're gonna have some busted coverages. I think it'll still be a close game, but like you said, another big thing is they don't have film on that defense, that Packers defense. They have the players, but again, it's a whole new scheme. It's completely different. So I have the Packers edging out the Eagles 24-21. Maybe a last second field goal, but I think it'll come down to a big defensive stop for the Packers.
I also think the Packers are going to win this one, and I think it'll be a little bit of a bigger margin just because of that defense. I think it'll feel like a close game, but I think in the end the Packers will just pull away a little bit, where it'll be more of like a touchdown margin. Next up is a game that I'm really looking forward to: Steelers Falcons. Steelers beat the Falcons in 4 of the last 5 games. It's the new quarterback pool with Kirk Cousins in Atlanta and Russell Wilson on Pittsburgh. Raheem Morris's head coaching debut versus one of the best in Mike Tomlin for the Steelers. The Steelers have a stacked front led by T.J. Watt versus Falcons' stacked back end with Jesse Bates, A.J. Terrell, Justin Simmons, and Mike Hughes. There's, again, so much talent on both of these teams, and both teams really wanting to kick
Mm-hmm.
off the season with a win because they're teams that have potential, but also a lot of question marks.
Yeah, I think this is going to be kind of a sloppy offensive game. I had the Steelers edging out the Falcons 16-13.
Mm.
I think it's going to be a defensive battle, and the Falcons with Kirk, it is going to take a little bit of time yet. So I think the Steelers edge out the Falcons, and I don't. We'll get into the bold predictions later, but yeah, I think Russ. It's going to take a little bit of time yet for him to get comfortable with that Mike Tomlin offense.
Okay, I think the Falcons are going to win this game. I think they're going to win like 24-16. I think the Falcons are going to have an easier adjustment on offense than the like Kirk Cousins on
Mm-hmm.
offense than the Steelers. Russell Wilson, like you said, the coordinator there, it's different. I mean, Mike Tomlin's a defensive guy. He does have his hand in the offense a little bit though, um, but yeah, I think this is gonna be a really fun game. But also I think this is a game where no matter what happens, good or bad, I don't think you can take too much from week one because, said, both of these teams, especially on offense, need to have some time to figure
Yeah.
things out and get acclimated to the new. I mean, when you have a new quarterback, like
Mm.
that just changes everything. Next up, we have Cardinals Bills. Bills are 3-2 in the last 5 games versus the Cardinals. Both quarterbacks have something to prove. Josh Allen's is he great or is he just really good? He
Yeah.
hasn't won anything.
Mm-hmm.
He
No
doesn't have
Stephon
an
Diggs this
MVP.
year.
He doesn't have Stephon Diggs. He doesn't have a Super Bowl. He hasn't gotten to the Super Bowl. Kyler Murray, your number one overall pick, and then you're flashy, and then you get hurt, and then you're flashy again, but you're not winning enough. So it's a fun game. Marvin Harrison Jr. and Keon Coleman have their rookie wide receiver debuts. Um, these are some fun offenses,
Mm-hmm.
and then some good defensive players on the back end for both teams. I'm excited for this game. I do think the Bills are going to edge this out, but I don't think that they're going to just go in there and crush the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are going to be a competitive team this year.
Yeah, I have the Bills winning 21-20. I think it's going to be a
Wow.
really close game. The Bills need to figure out their offense with no Stephon Diggs. I mean, Josh Allen, we've kind of seen like he's again flashes. He's got a big arm. He's a big quarterback. He's not afraid to run and take contact. But again, this is all on the field, and if you don't win anything, how great are you really? And then obviously we'll see. Hopefully Kyler looks better with Marvin Harrison, but I just think the experience with the Bills, they edge out the Cardinals. So.
Yeah, I think the Bills win like 21-17. I think both offenses are potential for higher scoring than that, but with it being week one, they're still trying to feel out,
Mm-hmm.
their new, stars, I guess young
Yeah.
stars, that they won't show that full potential in week one. But again, I do have the Bills winning that game. Titans Bears. Titans are 3-2 in the last 5 games versus the Bears. It's Caleb Williams' debut, new offensive weapons for both teams, young quarterback duel, and coaching debut for Callahan for the Titans. So again, so many headlines for
Mm-hmm.
this game. Um, you get Will Levis, who has a lot of doubts but also has a lot of potential. then you get Caleb Williams, who has a lot of pressure and a lot of excitement surrounding him. So, who do you have winning this game?
I have the Bears winning 21-10. I think Caleb shows some flashes, but that Titans offense, I think they're really going to struggle. They still don't really have an identity yet. They lost Derrick Henry, so they don't really know too much yet. And even though that Bears offense is completely new, like I swear every offensive weapon is brand new. They kind of figure it out. Again, Caleb shows some flashes, but it's more so the Titans not really knowing what they're doing
Yeah.
that the Bears win this one.
Yeah, I think the Bears win this like 24-13. I don't think that's a preview that the Bears are going to
No.
go win every game or that the Titans are going to be that low scoring every game. I just think for week one, the Bears are going in with so much excitement and they don't know any better. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like how the Packers looked last year. They didn't know any better going to playoffs. They had nothing to lose. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I think that's kind of what the Bears are going to go in with this week one. I think the Titans, especially with the new head coach, you're really feeling things out. And I think Allen's a really good coach. I think he can
Yep.
do a lot for this Titans team, give them a lot of hope. But I do have the Bears winning that game. Next up, we talked about it a little bit, but Patriots Bengals. Joe Burrow post injury. Will Jamar Chase play and show he's worth a new contract, or is he going to hold out? Gerard Mayo's coaching debut. In other words, no Belichick on the sideline. We don't see Drake May, or we're not planning to see Drake May. It is going to be Jacoby Brissett.
Mm-hmm.
Um, who do you have?
I have Bengals 20-14. I don't expect Jamar to play, but I think the Bengals still look pretty good with Joe Burrow back there, and Patriots no Belichick, no Brady, no. This is completely new territory for their fans, their franchise. So I think we're going to see a very new scheme, new offense, new defense. But like you said, Jacoby Brissett, not Drake May, so they're not ready to put Drake May in yet. But I think the Bengals win this by about a touchdown.
Okay, I have the Bengals winning like 27-13. I think it'll be a little bit more of a wider margin. I think Jerome Mayo's gonna really have his hands full, just trying to figure everything
Yeah.
out. I mean, it's one thing to just be a new head coach in general, be a head coach in general, being a new head coach and
Mm-hmm.
filling in for Belichick. I mean, there's just so much that comes with that. He isn't a guy who looks like he feels pressure in press conferences, but when you're there at the game,
Yeah.
you're gonna feel that pressure. And the Bengals are no joke. Even without Joe Burrow last year, they were able to be
Mm-hmm.
competitive. You saw their talent, and even if Jamar Chase doesn't play, I think the Bengals will still win this game. Yeah, I'm excited to see the Patriots play still, but I do think the Bengals edge them out. Texans Colts. This is the first division game we're gonna get to see and talk about. You can't get much better than that. Last five games are split, with the record being 2-2-1. This is a rematch of Week 18 of last season that the Colts feel they were just one play away from
Mm-hmm.
being in the playoffs. We get Richardson versus Stroud. All the popcorn's coming out for this game. I'm really excited for this one.
Yeah, this one I think these guys are going to come out. These quarterbacks are come out slinging the football. I have the Colts winning 35-31 in a shootout. I think this is going to be a prime example of where the AFC South is headed. These two will, I believe, they're going to be at the top of the division for the next couple of years. We'll see what Levis turns into, and who knows about Trevor Lawrence. But I think these two guys, week one, they come out and they show that they're fighting for the top quarterback in the division, and both teams are hungry for that division title.
Okay. I have this being a 1 point game. I do have the Colts winning. I think the Colts. I agree. I think it's going to be a shootout kind of game. I think there's going to be so much energy, and I know a lot of people are feeling the Texans right now, which I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I had them winning the division in my predictions, but I do think the Colts edge them out in this game. I think they're going to come in with anger from Week 18,
Mm-hmm.
and excitement with Richardson coming back. But the Texans have a lot of talent, so it's not going to be some kind of blowout. It's not going to be an easy win for the
Yeah.
Colts. It may be a game-winning field goal. Honestly, I mean, there's so much in this,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it'll be like a 1 point game. Next up, Jaguars Dolphins. Jags are 3-2 in the last 5 games. It's a duel of highly paid quarterbacks in Trevor and Tua, playoff rematch from 2022, and we get to see a completely revamped Dolphins defense. If you look at their free agency, I mean, it is just completely new. Versus some new offensive weapons on the Jags, and it should be a fun Florida Bowl for Week 1. Who do you have winning this game?
I have Dolphins comfortably winning this 28-13. I think the Jaguars come out and Trevor Lawrence just doesn't look like it yet. I think there's going to be a lot. I believe I had the Jaguars kind of struggling around 500 this year. I think there's going to be a lot of questions with Trevor Lawrence despite him getting paid, and that Dolphins offense is just still going to be look the same as they did last year.
Okay. I do have the Dolphins winning this game. I think just the home field advantage is what helps them, the home crowd. But I think it's going to be a close one. I think it's going to be like 27-24. It
Okay.
might be a game-winning field goal as well here. I think the Jags are going to look pretty good in week one. I think Doug Peterson's going to have them ready, um, but it won't be good enough to win. Panthers Saints. So another division game. Saints are 3-2 in the last 5 games. We're looking at a new head coach for the Panthers in Canals, and Saints added Chase Young to their defense. Is their car washed, or does he
Yeah.
still have it? Is Bryce Young a bust, or will he show us Bama Bryce? What about the O lines for these teams?
Yeah,
Are they
that's
gonna
yeah.
stand up, or are they gonna fold and make their quarterbacks look bad? This could be a kicker and punter field game. Nonetheless, it's a division game, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I have the Saints winning 17-10. Both these offenses just kind of look a mess. The
Mm-hmm.
Panthers still look a mess. Their O line is still not great. Bryce, it's not his fault. It's really unfortunate that he's in that situation. But yeah, I think it's going to be kind of a not that much offense, a sloppy 17-10 game. So
I have the Saints winning this game, and I'll go into that more in the next segment. Vikings Giants. Vikings are 4-1 in the last 5 games versus the Giants, but the Vikings lost their quarterback in Kirk Cousins. Giants lost their running back in Saquon Barkley. These are two teams that are being heavily doubted going into the season, and both want to prove everyone else wrong. Aaron Jones is a Viking. Malik Neighbors Giants debut got some excitement there still. Who do you have winning this game?
I think it's going to be a really slow scoring, tough game to watch. I think the Giants win 13-10. The Vikings, both these teams just are waiting for next year.
Yeah.
It's almost like okay, more I guess more so the Vikings with JJ. The Giants, it's like if Daniel Jones comes out this year and it's not it, what do we do? You know, it's like you paid him all this money for what? But yeah, I think it'll be a close game, a low scoring game, and I think the Giants win by about a touchdown, maybe even less.
I think the Vikings win like 21-16. Still lowish
Mm-hmm.
scoring. But also I think there's potential for like, a breakout run kind of thing
Yeah.
or, a bomb for a touchdown. Just things that can happen in week one for that excitement. But yeah, I do have the Vikings winning this game. I think the Vikings are poised to be a team that really upsets a lot of teams, that's
Yeah.
like it's like how did we lose to the Vikings? Like they're not
Yeah.
supposed to be good and Vikings just go in there like, no, we're here, we might not make the playoffs, but we're gonna spoil your guys' playoff run. I think that's the kind of team they're gonna be. The Giants, I like some of the key pieces they have, but they still have so much youth and so much developing they need to
Mm-hmm.
do. And I'm not a strong believer in Brian Dable. I'm really not. Raiders Chargers. We have another divisional game here. Raiders are 3-2 in the last 5 matchups. Antonio Pierce is the Raiders' new head coach. You can get that interim title out of there. And the Chargers also have a new head coach in Jim Harbaugh. Two teams wanting to take the division title away from the Chiefs. Two gritty, physical teams that have talent all over their rosters. Could we be looking at a week one overtime game here? I wouldn't even be surprised. Dicker the kicker or Daniel Carlson may have to win the game winning field goal. I'm all for this game. I think this is going to be a closer game. I think a lot of people are expecting the Chargers to come out hot, with Jim
Mm.
Harbaugh, and that the Raiders might be slower. I think with the division game, I think this is going to be a closer game. I think it'll be like 27-24 Chargers.
I have 23-13 Chargers. I think they win comfortably. I wouldn't say comfortably, like double digits or so. But yeah, I think Jim Harbaugh right away. I'm a firm believer that he's going to flip this team pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people are like they're a couple years away. I don't see that. I think Herbert is. I think a lot of people just don't. They're like, oh, okay, we're just waiting for Herbert. But I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the problem was Brandon Staley last year.
Yeah.
So even though he doesn't have really that many weapons to throw to, he lost Eckler. I still think that the team still looks pretty decent, and they comfortably beat the Raiders, who don't really know what they're doing right now. I think.
Yeah. Next up, we have Broncos Seahawks. Seahawks are 3-2 in the last 5 games versus the Broncos. Bo Nix versus Geno Smith, Mike McDaniel's head coaching debut. The Seahawks no longer have a 70-something head coach; they have a 37-year-old head coach. The Broncos have Sean Payton, who is still trying to prove that he can really win without Drew Brees. There's so many questions and unknowns with both of these teams, and that makes it a great show to watch. Who do you got?
I got Broncos 20-19. I think it's going to be a close game. It may come down to a field goal, but it's both these teams have a lot of questions. Bo Nix is starting, so we'll see what he looks like. I think he's going to look pretty good. I think he'll maybe struggle a little bit. I don't think he's going to come out and be completely great or flop. I think he'll be kind of what we expect. But yeah, I think it'll be a close, hard fought game.
I have the Seahawks winning 23-17. I think Mike McDonald is really gonna get a first, that first win week one as a head coach. I like Bo Nix. I like some of what the Broncos have. The Broncos might end up having a better season, but I believe in the Seahawks for that week one. They just have a little bit more experience around them on their roster than the Broncos do, and so I think they're gonna edge out the Seahawks. Cowboys Browns. Cowboys are 4-1 in the last five matchups versus the Browns dating back to 2004. Is Deshaun Watson the guy for the Browns after the season? Is Dak the guy for the Cowboys? Two quarterbacks with something to prove. You can't not be excited for those two going toe to toe. On the other side of the ball, you have Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett creating havoc in the backfields. McCarthy fighting for his job and Stefanski trying to continue his week one success that the Browns are not accustomed to. But now they want division wins and they want playoff wins. The Cowboys want to get out of the wild card round or even the divisional round.
Mm-hmm.
Are there more hot seats in a week one game than in
And
this one? This game has everything you want. It's a 325 game. Tom Brady's announcing debut. I am so excited for this one, and I have the Browns winning.
okay, I think the Cowboys come out and they are the regular season Cowboys. They win comfortably. I have them basically a blowout. I have it 31-13. I think these Cowboys. I think Dak has a lot to prove. I Mike McCarthy has a lot to prove, and I think that we're going to see. I'm a firm believer we're going to see the regular season Cowboys, but if we don't see that postseason success, there's going to be some new faces in that organization.
I was watching Good Morning Football, and Kyle Brandt has Micah Parsons as Defensive Player of the Year. All their Defensive Player of the Year picks were really interesting. Peter Schrager has Rashawn Gary.
Okay.
There's a lot of interesting picks, but Kyle Brandt had Micah Parsons, and he said he wants Micah Parsons to win Defensive
Yep.
Player of the Year. He wants him to have to get paid, and then do they pay Dak?
Yeah.
Are they gonna pay Micah? Are they gonna keep him on this
Yeah.
cheap deal after he just won Defensive Player of the Year? Like Dak's gonna throw for
Yeah.
40 yards a game, and they're still not gonna pay him. Like he wants
Yeah.
that drama. He thinks it's going to have that drama, and I could see that
Yeah,
happening.
yeah. I think that Micah is going to force Jerry's hand this year one way or another. It's going to be like either you pay me or I'm leaving because it's like you can't. I think we both are a believer that of the three that needed to get paid, he should have been paid first before CD before Dak. But again, Jerry chose to pay CD, and I'm preparing for him to pay Dak before he pays Micah, and he's going to lose Micah.
And the interesting thing about paying the receiver before you pay the quarterback is, I know CD and Dak have had their ups and downs, but like, is CD gonna want to play with a rookie? Even if there's a lot
It's
of
a
talk about
Devontae
Shea
Adams. It's a
Sanders.
Devontae Adams situation.
It really is. You even had it with Justin Jefferson for a minute.
Yeah.
Like you have these guys where it's like, okay, I understand you paying them, but then what do they look like without the quarterback?
Mm-hmm.
Their quarterback, and also do they want to play without that quarterback? But if that other quarterback has to get paid, now they can't pay him because they paid you. So there's a lot of drama. But again, I had the Browns winning. I'll get also into that more in the next segment. Commanders Buccaneers. Commanders are 3-2 in the last five games between these two. We get to see Jaden Daniels as a starter and Austin Eckler hopefully being rejuvenated. Baker Mayfield loves playing with a chip on his shoulder. He gets the Bucs to the playoffs, having to follow Tom Brady. He gets a playoff win. He helps the Bucs shine. Yet the talk of the division is the Falcons. Baker Mayfield's over there saying, you're gonna doubt me again. You're gonna count me out again. You're gonna pick a rookie quarterback to outduel me week one. Like no. I'm still here. Slow down. But we also see Dan Quinn getting a chance at being a head coach again, trying to get another team to a Super Bowl, another young quarterback. Todd Bowles is trying to go from that really good head coaching tier to I'm one of the great head coaches. So I don't know if you're not excited for this matchup, then you're just not a good football fan because there's a lot to like in this game. I think Jane Daniels is going to play well, but I do have the Buccaneers winning the game.
Yeah, I have Buccaneers winning 28-24. I think both quarterbacks play well, but Baker shows why he's still obviously like you said, he plays with a chip on his shoulder no matter how good people think he is. I love Baker, love watching him play and how he carries himself. But I do love Jane Daniels, and I think these guys go at it. But I think the Buccaneers and Baker's experience gives them the edge.
Yeah, I think the Bucs will win 27-23, but I think it'll be a fun game, and I think the Commanders will come out of this feeling like they won, even though the record is a loss. Rams Lions. Rams are 3-2 in the last five matchups. You know the storylines and you know the drama. Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford playing against their former teams. Sean McVay is the young, cool, gelled up hair head coach with an incredible offensive scheme and some really talented offensive weapons. The Lions have the grittiest coach who shows the most emotion at all times, the kneecap biting guy in Dan Campbell, leading the helm. No more Aaron Donald, so we will see what
Yep.
this Rams defense's new identity will be. The Lions lost their left guard and a safety in free agency, but these teams both have so much talent and so much pressure, so much to play for. Two teams with some of the biggest expectations this season. Let's add another great matchup to the books with these two teams. It was a 1 point game in their
Mm.
last matchup that the Lions ended up winning, and this game you can literally flip a coin for
Yep.
this game. Um, who do you have?
Sunday Night Football, like you said, I have the Lions winning 31-24. I think it'll be a close game. These teams know each other very well. Obviously, last year meeting in the playoffs, but I do think the Lions are poised for another shot at a division title, and it's going to start week 1 with a win over the Rams.
I have gone back and forth on this game so many times. I legitimately don't know who to pick. It makes me want to pick a tie,
Yeah.
but I also hate ties, and that'd be disappointing for this game because this game is just too good to end in a tie. Um, I'm going back and forth. I'm gonna say Rams.
Okay.
I think they want that revenge, and I think Matthew Stafford wants to be able to go into Detroit and win. But I would not be shocked at all if the Lions win either. All right. Last but not least, Jets 49ers. 49ers are 3-2 in the last 5 games. Waiting all day for Sunday night? We're waiting all week for Monday night. I take you back to the 2005 draft when the 49ers said they wanted to draft Aaron Rodgers with the number 1 overall pick, the hometown kid, who was the surefire number 1 overall pick. It truly was a fairy tale story. Until the 49ers stabbed Aaron Rodgers in the back and drafted Alex Smith instead number 1 overall, leaving Aaron Rodgers falling and falling and falling until the frozen tundra Midwest cheesehead wearing and Brett Favre loving team drafts him. Rodgers has done a great job getting revenge against the Niners in the regular season,
Yeah.
but in the playoffs, not so much. Let me take you back to week 1, 2023. Rodgers is on a new team with the players he wants, the defense he believes in, the flashy city that he wants to live in, and he's running out of the tunnel on Monday Night Football, carrying the flag, ready to have another fairy tale game. Everyone can feel the goosebumps in that moment, and the Jets' quarterback curse has been broken. Until about 40 seconds later and 4 snaps in, and Aaron Rodgers gets sacked and tears his Achilles. Can we find a fairy tale story in here somewhere? Let's look at the other side. The 49ers, shredded with talent in their entire organization, getting running back Christian McCaffrey, who is the best back in the league. And who do they have leading behind center? Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy. If he hadn't gotten injured in the playoffs the year before, they would have won the Super Bowl, right? Well, he stayed healthy this year, leading the Niners to the Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs. They were up double digits. They were up in the final minutes of the game. We're going to see Mr. Irrelevant hoisting the Lombardi Trophy until the Chiefs and Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes do what they do and strip that fairy tale ending from them. Two teams who are coming in with vengeance, storylines, and lots of talent for Week 1 Monday Night Football in Santa Clara.
Yeah.
I have the 49ers winning in overtime, again, Week 1 overtime Monday Night Football game. I think it'll be 30-27.
I have the Niners winning 28-21. Like you said, I think as people who watched Rodgers for so many years, we know the story. Everybody knows the story with the Niners and how that was his team. That's who he wanted to play for, and it was right there, and they didn't draft him. So I think he comes out, and I have him winning comeback player of the year, Aaron Rodgers. I still think the Niners are great, and I think that's why they lose. But if it goes in overtime, I wouldn't be shocked. But I think the Niners win 28-21.
I think it's a great game. I am so excited for this. That's it for our Week 1 previews. It really is. If you look every single game, there is something really exciting to watch for. I don't know. Y'all can watch Red Zone. Y'all can just watch the local. I don't know what
Yeah.
y'all are gonna do. Go to a sports bar. Watch all the highlights for this games if you don't get to watch the games. They are also fun to watch. Next up, we are going to give our bold predictions for Week 1. We each are bringing 3
Mhm.
with us. So yeah, that'll be up next.
All right, so now we're gonna go through our bold predictions. We each have three for week one. My first one, I think Tyreek's gonna go over 200 yards receiving against the Jaguars. I have him winning my offensive player of the year, and he's gonna come out right away. And again, the fastest guy in the league, one of the best receivers in football, and he's gonna come out and just torch their secondary.
My first bold prediction is that all the rookie quarterbacks will shine. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Bo Nix will all have a clean game, each having 2+ touchdowns and 0 turnovers in their debuts. I'm not saying all their teams will get the wins, but the quarterbacks will all play well enough to win.
Okay. My next one, I kind of touched on a little bit. Colts Texans. I think both C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson both throw for 350 and three touchdowns. I think they come out, and again, we didn't see much of Richardson. We know what his arm talent is like. I think Stroud only had a handful of games where he threw over 350. I think he only had one where he threw over four last year. But I think both these guys come out and just are slinging the football. There's even though the Colts have Jonathan Taylor. I think they kind of use him more as like a receiving back situation here, and Richardson and Stroud just keep going, and their defenses just don't look great, but it's more so what Stroud and Richardson look like.
My second bold prediction is for the Panthers Saints game. Alvin Kamara is going to come out of nowhere, or come out of 2017,
Yeah.
and get 3 rushing touchdowns versus the Panthers. Going to lead them to the win.
Interesting. I mean, we've been waiting for that Alvin Kamara, that 2017, like you said, that guy. If you had him in fantasy and you didn't win the league, I don't know what the rest of your team looked like because he was special that year.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see it with the Panthers, their defense not being great. Three touchdowns. I don't really think it's a stretch just because we've seen it from him before. But
Oh, wow.
yeah, with the Saints, we don't know what Derek Carr is going to look like, so they may just lean on Alvin Kamara and he may shine. We don't know. The last one, or my I would say boldest prediction, I think Russell Wilson throws two interceptions, and I think that maybe not so much internally, but fans are like, was he the right person to start over Fields?
Interesting. A
So
negative bold
a negative,
prediction.
yeah. So
Okay. I think fans are already doubting, though.
yeah, I think a lot of people are impatient because Fields is younger. They want to see what they have in him. Russ is kind of older. He's getting towards the end of his career. They want to see what they have in Fields before they move on from him. So
Okay. My last bold prediction: this quarterback is going to tear it up week one, throwing for 2 touchdowns and rushing for 2 touchdowns, quieting all the doubters, answering all the questions, and shutting up all the hate. Deshaun Watson is going to have 4 total touchdowns in
okay,
week one against the Cowboys, getting a win.
we need to see. I am not a firm believer in Deshaun Watson. I think that like ever since all of the stuff happened with him, that he hasn't really been the same. They threw out that guaranteed money at him,
Mm-hmm.
and he's. I hope he does well. Two rushing and two throwing is
Mm-hmm.
very bold, but um, that
It's called bold
yeah,
predictions
and
for a reason.
against the Cowboys defense too. So
Mm-hmm.
again, we'll see. I have them complete opposite. I don't think Deshaun does well, but again, only time will tell, and we'll see what happens. It's definitely one of the games I think people are really looking forward to.
Yeah, there are so many good games, so many good storylines for week one, and I'm just excited to see how like next week we're gonna see the results
Yeah.
of these games. We're gonna get to break down what happened in the games, and then preview week two. And I mean, for this, like everybody's going in,
Mm.
0-0, so there's nothing to like, oh, they need revenge from last week, or they're gonna build on last week, or whatever. Like every week, it's gonna be more of like the record. We're gonna be able to look at everything. We're also gonna do something throughout the season, probably starting after like the first bye week, where it'll be like on the bright side. So even if your team is 0 and
Mhm.
4, we're gonna show you the bright spot for
Yeah.
for your team. We're gonna talk about every team. So yeah, but that's it for this podcast. We're gonna start recording on Wednesdays again, or start dropping episodes on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Central Time, so that we can break down the game as well as preview the next game. So that's it for week one. See you next week.
Yeah.